Okay, so here's part one of the TSO boxed up. What I had was a 30 amp Shoemaker battery charger that I got for free, and it was burnt, and it was the primary that was burnt on the transformer. So there's a lot of taps and that, and the fact that the core was welded together, I really just didn't feel like fixing the battery charger, because while it is a 30 amp, it's not an off-grid 40 or 50 amp, so it's not something that you're really going to use aside with a generator. And then even still, you know, it's an odd number. It's not huge and it's not small, and it wasn't automatic, so it was like, screw it. So what I did though was, when I started taking it apart, I started looking at the various different things that were in it and what I might use. And what I decided to do was, you can see the big rectifying plate had 4 diodes in it, and it just so happens that my TSO has 4 transistors. So the output diodes are now that plate, and I checked them all to make sure that they're good. And so I'm outputting everything to a single battery. This is a single battery setup. But you know what a guy could do, if you really wanted to, if you wanted to convert it into a multiple battery, like if you've watched John Bedini's latest video, what he talks about is using a SSG air core to output to several batteries simultaneously, captivating on the fact that you can keep them from being paralleled or whatnot, and you know, your voltage stays up. So you charge a whole bunch of batteries, 1 per circuit, which is kind of a neat idea. Although honestly, I really don't see the difference, because the current gets split up. You know, if they all charged at the same speed as if you bunched it together, then sure, it would be wonderful, but I can't see it happening. Anyway, it is a good circuit. This is, I think his was an SSG. He didn't elaborate too much. This is a TSO, which is a little bit different, and it always confuses me. I'm going to redo the diagram for this circuit, because it's a little bit bizarre how the positive hook up and negative. It's actually very simple, but what gets you confused is where's the top and the bottom of the coil. Now, speaking about coils, this is an aluminum, and the aluminum wire is now available again. The vendor on eBay has it in stock, and you can get like what was it, 7.5 kilometers of this wire for a pretty decent price. Now, here's something. If you want to make a kick-ass TSO battery charger, that you see, one of the things about this is, you'll talk to a lot of people and they'll say, well, you should only Bedini to the point where you're going to desulfate and then conventional charge. However, for those of us that have played around with this circuit, you know that when you put this thing balls to the wall, you are passing a lot of conventional current, because you're essentially running it at a low hertz, and you're paralleling a high voltage, double the voltage, you're paralleling that. So you're placing this thing in a position where it's going to dump. And just if you compare it straight up to a conventional battery charger, it fares pretty well. Like, I mean, it's well above 80% efficient if you set it up correctly. And This one's set up for solar. I got those big caps in there. And so when I'm sure that it's all right, then I'll do another video and I'll fire it up. Now these two little, the only copper wires, are my sniffer coil wires. So in this one, eventually I'll have two outputs right here, and a switch to either output that very low voltage to an LED for nighttime use to see. But that's kind of redundant now because I have this forced to oscillate. What I did this time though was I took out all my base resistance and jumped it, and now all I have is the one potentiometer. That's it, and it's a fairly high watt potentiometer. Certainly is more capable than the type of watts that are going through the base circuit. This isn't a hot circuit either. It's not like a SSG that gets like stupid hot because of all of the resistances involved. So you don't have to worry so much about burning out resistors. I just got little quarter watts and stuff, you know. So anyway, it is a cool circuit, and if you're playing with it, get in touch with me and let me know what you think. Oh, and one more last thing. Here's a thought. Okay, now what I have there is I have 5 wires LEDs together. Okay, now here's the thought. You can get 75 kilometers of this wire, or sorry, 7.5 kilometers of this wire for pretty cheap. Now, it would be rather interesting if what you did was, because he only sells 18 gauge, he doesn't sell any thicker. If you LEDs together 4 pieces, or maybe say anywhere between 2 and 4 pieces, you LEDs them together. But then instead of winding that up as your coil, have several of those, and then LEDs those together, and then wind that into an air core on obviously a big bobbin, right? It would be, the bobbin would be the size of this whole charger. But then you would exploit the capabilities of these transistors. Like, using these transistors in this fashion is almost a joke. These things can handle a couple 100 watts each. Technically, when you look at this thing, it could be a 400 watt charger, but it's not, because you can't pass the current with the gauge of wire that you're using. But the heavier the gauge you go, the more current you pass. And what I'm finding is that you buckle and belt up on them that current pulses, and those current pulses do desulfate. And the thing that confirmed my belief on that is that it's not just the high voltage, it is the current pulses. And the reason is, if you take a look at a battery bank and you run a reasonable quality true MPPT charger, solar charge controller, into a battery bank that's sulfated, you will see that battery bank improve. And the reason is it has nice current whaps. The current is coming in big chunks, hammering at the batteries like a knock on the door. And I'm not saying that the high voltage spike doesn't do anything. I believe that it does, but I believe that they both do something. And if you look at some of the conventional desulfators out there, it sort of backs up what I'm saying as well. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy and show me your experiments, and always, send me a link or two to what you're doing. So thanks again. Bye for now.